Man, you were just drinking out of a Ted Lasso mug there. We're
Yes, I
we're not
was.
we're not one to spoil things, but talk about a heel turn.
Yeah, yeah. He steadily became like the worst person ever. Actually, it's funny that you say that because Daisy actually used the exact same phrase when that show ended. Um,
Mm,
yeah.
yeah,
So that was kind of cool. I was like, you just made a wrestling joke, and she said that I did. It's like
I
I have destroyed you.
I was doing a casting interview for a reality show, and then the guy referred to himself as like, "Oh, I'm not a heel. I'm not a heel." And I was like, "I bet you I'm going to find a picture of this guy with a wrestler." And lo and behold, there was a picture of this guy in Jinder Mahal, who you
Oh,
also have
nice.
seen in locally, right?
I have. He is a very very large, very intimidating figure, and not because he is typecast as one of those xenophobic characters. He is like twice as big in person as he is on TV. And it probably didn't help that I ran into him at the gym, so it was even that much more intimidating. Because like normal people at the gym, I don't feel like terribly out of place, but walking up and trying to take a picture with like just the biggest dude I've ever seen in person, yeah, that would have been a bit much. It was an intimidating experience to say the very least.
I mean, the guy I was cutting the casting interview for, he was he did some professional bodybuilding and stuff in earlier. He doesn't do it anymore, but he's still like in really good shape. He looked so tiny compared to Jinder. It was nuts. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
What?
Jinder's like 6'5" or something too. So he's like
Mm,
huge anyways.
yeah.
I mean, if it was like Scott Steiner, where he's going to be like a foot shorter than I am, like I
Hmm.
probably could have like wrapped my head around it. But
Yeah.
like I didn't want to be completely dwarfed. So
Well, let's talk about actual wrestling.
yeah,
Actual. Uh, I guess there were a couple of heel turns if we're gonna talk about that, but mainly we let's just jump into that. The one that I can think of, Hikaru Shida versus Serena Deeb. I was Serena Deeb was always, I feel like, kind of heel already, but she just solidified it by just beating Hikaru Shida, who we haven't seen either one of these ladies for months, really.
yeah, we were
So
there the last time they were on TV, right?
I think so. I don't think they've
Yeah.
been on TV. Maybe they've. I don't even think they've been on Dark. I mean, Serena D has been out with an injury, but Hikaru Shida, I'm gonna assume she went home to like see family or something for a little while. But she was at um, All Out's like meet and greets and stuff. She was there, so they just haven't used her. But man, Serena D, she just she might be talk about like one of the things I have liked about some of the CM Punk matches is because it's the whole Chris Sabin thing and Moose thing where they you could just tell like their veteran minds are just really good at putting together matches, and Serena Deeb is definitely one of those people. Um, and and it's also makes sense with their characters. Like that's the only way they should be winning matches is because they're smarter than these young people.
Yeah, I
That's basically
completely
it.
agree. And she's just a ring tactician.
Yeah.
I mean, she honestly, I could see Serena Deeb and Brian Danielson getting in the ring together and just putting on a clinic. Like she is that good. I mean, with all the technical moves and holds,
Hmm.
she's way stronger than she looks. It's kind of a marvel to see some of the stuff she does in the ring. Um, yeah, I loved the match. I'm with you. I didn't necessarily find it as like astounding a heel turn as maybe the commentary team did.
Hmm.
Um, but I always just kind of thought Deeb was working from a heel perspective. I mean, I guess it's not as obvious as like a Deanna Parazzo, where
Yeah.
she's a heel. But yeah, I was kind of with you. I didn't necessarily think it was anything like groundbreaking. That she was just suddenly a heel. I kind of always thought she was. And maybe that's because she had those few matches with Sheeta before, where you knew Sheeta was like our super baby face for
Yeah.
AEW. So that probably could have skewed our view of it a little bit.
Yeah. Um, Well, we had Dynamite the anniversary, but before we get to that, let's talk about our. Let's talk a little bit about NXT. Tell us about our favorite Italian crime family from Chicago.
Okay, so I'm still not terribly on board with the idea of a Sopranos esque character, but apparently the entire rest of the internet is behind this thing. He was great in the ring. I loved the velour tracksuit. It was a
Mhm.
good look in the ring, like the texture that the track pants had throughout the whole match. Like it
Mhm.
just had a good look. Um, I want to say Liv Morgan used to wear like that material was on a lot of her ring gear
That makes
early
sense.
on. Um, so it's got a great look. It looks good on camera because it when they move it like it shimmers and sheens without being glittery, which is cool. He was great in the ring. Did really good work in his match. I'm still I I don't know. I don't know how I feel about the waste management and fisheries and all the cliched mob references without actually saying mob. But yeah, I mean they're clearly going to push the shit out of him because commentary was acting like he was the next big thing,
Yeah.
um, which is good. I like that they've got a couple of guys that they're super confident in. Between he and Braun Breaker, it's a great look early on for 2.0. Um, I'm also I didn't think I was going to be terribly on board just shoving the rocket up Braun Breaker's ass and pushing him straight into a title match with Champa. Uh, but somehow they pulled it off, and now I cannot wait for this match. I think it's Halloween Havoc. We're going to get Champa and Braun Breaker. Um, so I'm beyond thrilled. I know it's going to be a great match. I don't know if it's. I think it's way too damn early to both crown Braun Breaker and to take Goldie back from Champa, but we'll see. I mean, they're going to have a hell of a match, and the build to it is apparently going to be great. The chemistry these guys have, it's pretty electric. Um, Champa hasn't. I mean, Champa's great, but he hasn't really had that fire, that connection since Gargano.
Right.
So it's really nice to see it this early in a feud, especially with a younger guy that they're gonna shove to the moon and back. So I'm looking forward to that match a lot. But
Uh, oh,
since we hit on D'Angelo, if I covered that one, so I'm going to let you take the one I really don't want to talk about because our old friend Captain Safe Space Joe Gacy was back this week.
yeah. And so they're really going for this. I think what we might have seen in some of the wrestling news is I think he might have gone a little even further than what the present version of this gimmick is, and that this is the scaled back version. So he showed up again. He I can't remember who he faced, but we actually had a match, didn't we? Um,
We did.
it's just like it's so like scarring to me that I don't even want to think about it too much. Um, like also, but yeah, he was back, and he's got like a man. I can't remember anybody right now, but he has like a heater for him now as well. I kind of watched all of it. Like he's
Oh, I
got
didn't.
someone that's going to be helping him out,
I
or
don't. I don't.
also
I may have completely missed that,
I
but
don't know,
yeah,
man. It's
we uh we got a tease here.
was it the dude with the crazy jackets?
Each Hiro Ichiman, something
Yeah,
something along
yeah,
those lines. I can't ever remember exactly what his name is.
yeah,
Um, yeah, let me make sure.
yeah. It's
It was a decent match. I mean, he's not
yeah.
bad in the ring. Do 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 do
But
do.
so there's certain about with about D'Angelo and Gacy, which seriously, like, unless this turns out to be like a serial killer like gimmick as well, which would be amazing. I'd actually be for this. Like, if this was like a safe space into a serial killer thing, which also like they talk about how you shouldn't use murder in wrestling because that's that's bad. Um,
It's Ikemen Jiro.
okay, yeah.
Yeah,
So it does feel like kind of like the '90s WWE a little bit in NXT with some of these new gimmicks, which is refreshing. Again, why Braun Breaker is just like, nah, I'm just like myself. Like he is
yeah,
definitely a Stone Cold turned up to 11 type of character, while these other ones are just like, I don't think they're not succeeding, but they're definitely the old style of WWE or WWF, I should say at this point. So
yeah. It's all variations of Doink at this point.
yeah. So Joe
I,
Gacy's here to stay for
yeah,
for the moment. So is D'Angelo.
I do. I want to jump back to D'Angelo's match for a minute because looking for Jiro's name here reminded me that guy that he worked that match with was also extremely talented. And I hope he disappears for a few weeks and can come back and like
Mm.
start making a name for himself. One, because his ring name is Malik Blade, which badass name, but
Yeah.
that guy was awesome. So I think I think he's got a bright future. So I'm looking
Mm.
forward to that. Really, the big thing this week from NXT is I'm 100% on board the Mandy Rose train. Um, this is give her some dark hair, let her play a heel. It really feels like I almost feel like somebody snuck this in and Vince didn't notice until it was too late.
Yeah.
But like to take his like bodybuilding Barbie doll and to turn her into a heel, like it just feels anti Vince, and something about it works so well for me. And to have Joe Gacy in his safe space opposite half naked Mandy Rose and her toxic attraction faction, like I am all for this toxic attraction thing. um I know Mandy Rose, she looks small, but I mean, she overhead pressed Nia Jax at one point, and I
Yeah.
like almost shit myself. Um, so what her and Raquel Gonzalez are going to be able to do in a match is going to be a marvel to watch. Um, but yeah, I'm totally on board for a heel lady faction. Um, I hate that we had to we saw an Ember Moon loss to get us here, but
Right.
because she's sort of become an afterthought on NXT now, which makes me sad. But yeah, I'm all for this women's championship feud. Um, let's get to Halloween Havoc because it's going to be a hell of a show.
Yeah. Yeah. And is that's the Tuesday before Halloween?
Mhm.
Probably. Yeah. Um. Well, cool. So let's move on to. I agree with you there, and let's move on to Dynamite. We started off with the Super Elite, which is Cole, the Young Bucks, and Omega versus Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus. Was it Christian Cage and
Christian
Daniel Bryan
Cage and
or
and and
Bryan Danielson?
yeah,
I'm
that,
never going to
that
get this right. It's going to take us like 3 years to get this. They've it's because it's so close. It's going to be
yeah.
so hard to switch it up. I know I could just say Brian and that covers all the bases.
By the time
So
we like wrap our heads around it and have it right every time,
yeah,
he's gonna come back in the Royal Rumble, and we're gonna have to go back and call him the other one. So, I mean, I think we've got about 2 years of Brian Danielson before we just have to go right back to Daniel Bryan.
yeah. I'm actually surprised that Jim Ross has been able to keep this together so well. So yeah, I mean, good match. It continued. It's kind of like a New Japan tag match where it like continues on some of these feuds that we've had um, going on. All right, we had some standoff moments between Daniel and Omega, Cole and Jungle Boy, and all the rest. Good match, but nothing nothing kind of crazy there. Uh, Sheeta and Deeb, I thought was pretty good. And now we have Fish versus Sammy Guevara. I felt like the match just like I don't know if they don't have chemistry together or just it was just off night for them. But I feel like Sammy just wasn't quite at the level that I've seen him wrestle before. I feel like he definitely had a few missteps there in the match. I was the thing I texted you about, just like I don't think I've ever heard Bobby Fish actually talk because I did not recognize his voice at all when they ran the promo before it. And I just realized Cole and O'Reilly pretty much kind of dominated, and to some a lesser extent, Diamond
Roderick
Mine guy
Strong.
now,
Yeah.
yeah, Strong. Like that, I never really heard them actually speak that, or him actually speak that much. Um, but I guess we're getting more Fish, but he's also going to be in MLW and some other things, so we'll kind of see how that shakes out. Um, some of his beliefs, supposed beliefs behind the scenes, like make me a little wary about Fish, but he's a good wrestler, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, the match. It just never really got to that like high octane level that you're used to seeing with Sammy. I think that's sort of what did it for me. That, and I mean, Fish may have just had a little ring rust. I mean, it's
Yeah,
been a little while. He didn't have the luxury of the Adam Cole 4 day non compete, so
yeah,
um, it might have just been something as simple as that. I'm sure he'll get around to it. I know he's more of a kind of an on the ground submission technician wrestler. Um, so maybe it really was their styles just didn't mesh out of the gate. They haven't had a lot of time to work together. So maybe it's just something like that. I'm sure he'll have some great matches here and there. Um, I assume he'll probably do most of them on Dark. Um,
yeah.
but we'll see.
Well, and then what else do we have? I mean, besides what we're getting around to talking about.
We got
Um,
a street fight. Brian Cage and Ricky Starks for the FTW belt that ended with Hook giving a low blow to Brian Cage, basically. Um, I I was really I was truly hoping that like we were going to get a wash and this Team Taz and Brian Cage thing was over. What 2-3 months ago,
yeah,
so that Brian Cage could move on to other things. I mean, I would have loved to see Brian Cage challenge Miro when God's favorite champion had the belt, things like that. I and I know I'm not alone. There's no way I am. I see there's a star like at the top of a card with Brian Cage's name on it. And I think he's just sort of like lost in this FTW Team Taz thing. Um, and I mean, it's younger guys, Hobbs,
yeah,
Starks, Hook. I mean, they could be doing great matches with some of the other talent that needs some developmental work. So I think it's a disservice to keep this thing going and not kind of like expand this FTW thing. Mostly because for a belt that's fight the world / fuck the world, um, I think it should be open challenged on every show.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I think Brian Cage really needs to. They need to move on and have him do other things. Um, and I'd really like to see Starks work with some of the faster, smaller, younger guys. Um, Starks and Jungle Boy would probably be great. I know Starks and Darby have already tangled a couple of times, but they were
yeah.
good. Um, so yeah, I'd like to see kind of a diverse group challenge Starks for that belt. Um,
It's kind of for a while the same issue that we've had with the Pinnacle and the Inner Circle. Like some of those guys end up just doing the same matches over and over again.
yeah,
And it's a talented group of guys that no, the Inner Circle seems to as a kind of casually disbanded Inner Circle seems to be kind of moving on and getting more opportunities now. But like Pinnacle and Team Taz, that kind of seems kind of stuck in a rut a little bit. And now that we're out of the pandemic, it made sense during the pandemic, but now, or at least, I mean, obviously we're still in the pandemic, but we're doing shows again with people. So
well
now
the
that we're doing that,
the Pinnacle has kind of moved on to attacking Darby and whatnot, and yet the Inner Circle went from the Pinnacle to, just a shittier version of the Pinnacle with America's Top Team. Um,
That's true.
I
Yeah.
I don't fucking understand this recycled ass storyline. It like I
And also,
these
I've heard, like I've even asked you who they were, or I've asked other people who they were. Like that's one thing I've heard from some other podcasts too. Is just like that they've not AEW hasn't done the work of even explaining who the hell this guy is and like why
yeah,
he's important.
it
So
I mean, Impact, TNA, whatever they were at the time when they had Bobby Lashley, they sunk a
yeah,
shitload of TV time into this. And I mean, it was stupid. And I don't like, if WWE goes out and they bring in Conor McGregor to do something for WrestleMania, that's fine. If Ronda Rousey wants to be a full time wrestler, that's fine. I don't understand the point of, like, why are we going to have a one-off match from Jorge Masvidal on a damn Dynamite episode? Like, that dude made just hundreds of millions of dollars kicking people's heads in. I don't think you need this shit anymore.
yeah,
A smaller company like, say, Ring of Honor, that could take the nudge of getting more of the MMA crowd to tune in. I get it. Impact at the time needed the fucking ratings. I get it. I don't understand this well and this America's Top Team storyline is already recycled. So I just don't understand. You've got 400,000 people on AEW's roster that can't get on
yeah.
Dynamite each week, but we're letting this guy cut 20-minute fucking promos like he's Zeb Coulter. Like, just it's stupid. It's stupid.
That I'm not against having some kind of like celebrities coming in though, like Shaq. You're welcome back. Pat McAfee on WWE TV. Like, let's get you in another match. Um, or like kick open this forbidden door between WWE just to have a Adam Cole Pat McAfee rematch. Like I'd be up for that. That would be amazing if somehow we got that, and that was the only like WWE AEW Forbidden Door like match, just Pat McAfee again. Um, yeah, it's just like I don't think AEW's done the work to explain it, and even if they did, it's just like it's not working for me. I think it kind of cheapens both of it. And these guys, like for the most part, uh, putting in some terrible, working punches. Um, so the guys in the inner circle is like it looked real bad. Not as bad as those original Dark Order ones that got
I
that got really pointed out. But yeah,
they do. They get in the ring and they've it looks like Shane McMahon throwing those
yeah,
T-Rex punches, and it's awful. And I'm with you. I like having Shaq show up. I recognize Shaq shows up. He plugs the show on NBA on TNT. It makes so much sense.
yeah,
Like Carl Malone and Dennis Rodman for WCW back in the day, it worked. They were fans. They were invested. You saw them in the crowd at all kinds of shows. Like, it made sense. But this,
yeah,
I don't know. It 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 just doesn't work for me. And I mean, if you're hearing about it on other podcasts, it doesn't work for other people either. And the
yeah,
the casualties of this is that, much like what it did to Bobby Lashley in Impact, where like he was surrounded with goons essentially, is you're doing the same thing to two incredibly talented guys in Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page, who do not need this shit.
yeah.
Like, they could be tag champs and I'd be completely on board with it. Um,
I mean, you have one of the first tag champs in that team, right
yeah,
there, Scorpio Sky, or one of the first. He was the first tag champ. Yeah. So,
yeah, it's
yeah,
weird. I've tried to make a point, as we've been doing season 3, of being more like optimistic and positive, and I feel like I've done an okay job. But that's how much I dislike all of this America's Top Team stuff. Like, I
yeah,
cannot put a positive spin on it. It doesn't help anybody.
yeah,
Um, and Jericho doesn't. I mean, Jericho doesn't need a rub. I mean,
yeah,
unless he just wants to take another punch from a former world champ in a different sport. Like,
yeah.
he's already got the video footage where he took a punch from Tyson and got back up. Like, we're okay. We've had this. So
um, Well, it's just we'll just jam through Dynamite. What's left? CM Punk versus 2.0's son Daniel Garcia. Uh, yeah, CM Punk win. It was a pretty decent match. And then I think what else was there? We
You
talked
know,
about the FTW Street Fight that was then.
yeah. I
Um,
I do have to say, early on, and I was very open about this, is that I didn't watch during Punk's heyday and all the fanfare that Punk has, and whatnot. Uh, it never it doesn't didn't resonate with me because I didn't watch it. Like I loved watching video of the pipe bomb promo. That it
yeah,
was great. Um, but I love that this guy came back after, 7, 8 years, whatever it was, and he wrestles every week. Like I got to give him credit because he's just hopping in the ring, putting on good matches with younger talent. He's winning them all because as much as they're paying him, he's eventually got to have a title shot. Um, so they've got to work the ranking system, but he's putting eyes on younger talent every week. We're not just
right,
holding him for pay per views to sell the damn show, while he just comes out and talks every week. So I got to give him tons of props. Like I have a ton of respect for the fact that he as you've titled the podcast for this week, he shows up to work every week ready to do his job.
right. Uh, Quick before we get on to our main event of this podcast, what was Moose up to this week? Did you catch up with him?
Moose got banned from ringside because they jumped Sammy Callahan. Then Moose and Morrissey have announced that they will be part of the Call Your Shot Gauntlet at
Nice.
Bound for Glory. They cut a promo that basically explained and foreshadowed that it will come down to the two of them, and they are not friends. They are ready to throw hands as needed to get their shot. I'm on board for this. Um, hopefully Moose soon becomes the Impact champion. Um, just so we can call it another "I told you so." This guy's awesome. Keep watching. He's doing good work.
You think anyone's going to get these hands at Bound for Glory?
Uh I'm not entirely sure. I don't know where he's going. Um, I think if any company has the money to attract him at this point, and the kind of roster that he'll work well with, it is Impact. I would love to see him show up.
Yeah,
Because I really do. I think as deep as AEW's roster is, I think he'd get sort of lost in the shuffle. Brian Cage, essentially.
yeah,
Um, I would prefer to see him go to a company like Impact where he can really shine and continue to. I mean, because at the end of the day, he didn't spend a lot of time in NXT, and you
right.
watched him on the main roster. um, he was basically in developmental on the main roster. He got a little better each time you saw him.
Yeah,
I think working with a lot of these vets that they've got in Impact would be phenomenal for him. Get him down there with. I mean, it has been a complete overhaul for Big Cass going to Impact because I mean he looks great. He's doing good work. I think it could do the same thing for Strowman.
yeah,
Eventually, he will go back to WWE. He probably won't be hit as excessively paid as he used to be.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I mean, it's inevitable. I think it would be great for him to turn up in Impact, and this would be a good show to do it on. Have him show up, win this thing, and get to call his shot and get a title match.
yeah. I agree. Well, good to hear. Moose might be champion soon. If Strowman doesn't somehow keep that from happening, which is something that could happen. But we had the casino ladder match as the main event of Dynamite with only like 15 minutes to do it. So I know some people were worried, and they crammed a lot in there, including some probably very unnecessary table spots.
They
Look,
went they went hard in these
yeah,
15 minutes. Lance Archer and Mox beat the living shit out of each other.
yeah.
Pac took that real gnarly bump. I mean, they really
Matt,
did. They went to town.
I know Matt Hardy is an excellent seller, just like his brother Jeff, but That leg drop onto that table, it looked he looked in a lot of pain. Like it
Yeah.
hurt my tailbone, like watching him do that. And it's just like,
Yeah.
Matt, you don't need to do that anymore. Like,
And at one point, I think it was Hangman went over the top to the outside and took him
yeah,
out, and he fell and slammed his head into the barricade,
yeah,
and you could tell he wasn't 100% when he stood back up.
yeah.
I think the Hardy family office may be off TV for a couple of weeks because that looked pretty. Of all the spots, I mean the Pac spot was not great, but of all the spots, that was the one where I thought, yeah, he's gonna be out for a bit. That one's not good.
Well, if you've seen the artwork for this episode, and if you just like, you know, been anywhere, Hangman was the Joker, and what a pop that he got. What a man! It was just so. It was nice to see him show up, and as the title of this podcast says, he finally showed up to work. That was his little lower third description, which I love the little details like that in every week that he is on TV. Um, yeah, it's good to see him back. I did not love that dead eye onto that table again. Probably unnecessary. Like just all the table spots in this were unnecessary, especially in a short TV match. Um, Maybe you can put that risk in a pay per view. Even then, I think it's a little bit too hard. Pull it back a little bit is what I think. But yeah, I got super excited. I was at Disneyland when this match was happening, and I looked at Twitter and like, man, I got emotional standing in the line for Space Mountain. Uh, longest line. Not to quote Rick, newly canceled Ric Flair. But
Ah,
yeah,
shit, you just got us canceled.
oh man. But it was a long line at Space Mountain that night. That was accurate. um, yeah, this part of the reason. So a Hangman for me, it's one of these things where if AEW somehow screws this up eventually, um, it could be like the Stone Cold turning heel moment for me, to where I just like, nah, I'm done. Like seriously, then I could like this podcast is over because I just stopped like showing up to work. Um, like to me, like that's where they built this over the last 2.5 years, um, or yeah, like 2.5 years. Like he was the first challenger. He won the Casino Battle Royal at Double or Nothing, the first Double or Nothing, and it just yeah, it's good. It has to deliver, and I do think they are, and some people were, and I think us included, were a little disappointed with that with the Dark Order match, thinking like, oh, this is the moment where he's going to get that title shot and all that, and he lost, and he went away, and everyone's like, oh, that's going to kill his momentum, but no, it's that pop says otherwise. They've left us wanting more, and to the point where we bought full gear tickets and we might be going to Minneapolis. So we'll see there. I mean, might be. I've already reserved a hotel room and bought a flight, so I don't know about this might be part.
And
So
I didn't even pay the extra for the refundable airfare, so I'm I don't want Delta to hang on any more of my money as e-credits. But
yeah,
yeah, I thought the Dark Order match, it served two wonderful purposes. Hangman got to go away for a couple of weeks, have a kid, kind of heal up, because you could tell he was hurting in
hmm
a few different places. It also set the stage for the rift in the Dark Order, which has been a very good, very well written storyline. That the Dark Order was kind of falling apart, which I thought took the tribute to Brody Lee week in Rochester to a new level, with them, putting it all aside and coming back together, and then to come right back on top of it with Hangman winning this thing on his own, as to get another Joker win. Um, I, Honestly, I think that they need to pull a Lol Cena and have Hangman be the Joker in every one of these matches for like 3 years and just constantly win them. Uh,
yeah,
that way, when he finally loses, it means something.
yeah.
I think that would be amazing. Um, but yeah, I'm incredibly excited. I'm not gonna lie. I was just kind of like, okay, we might go to Full Gear, whatever, but we're going to Full Gear for some cowboy shit.
Yeah.
I'm like stoked. I'm not thrilled about Minneapolis in November. Um, but yeah, I'm 100% on board for some cowboy shit. I cannot wait to see the revolving door of challengers now that the roster is a good bit deeper. I think that Hangman winning, he'll inevitably have to give Omega some kind of rematch,
Right.
which I think Hangman needs to win. I think other members of the elite going for the belt need to create a rift in the elite. I mean, there's so much that you can do from here. Um, that I honestly I think it's the perfect time. Him going away was that made him coming back and getting this shot that much more special. Um, so yeah, I think it's going to be amazing. It's going to be worth the bitter colds of Minneapolis in November to get to see Hangman finally crowned. Because when this company started, every one of them that were at that press conference said Hangman Page is the future of wrestling, and
Yeah.
we're going to see it in Minneapolis.
Yeah. I agree. Well, until next week, like, subscribe, ring the bell. Anything else you want to
This morning when I was gearing up for this, I had something and I have completely lost it. So ring the bell,
add?
subscribe, like, share the podcast with your grandparents. Maybe
Yeah.
like NXT, they'll fall asleep listening to some true crime podcast and it'll just turn on. So we we can get some ratings. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, we
All
will see
right.
you next week. I don't think there's anything major going on this week in pro wrestling, so it'll
We
probably just
got
be quick hits. But
we got SmackDown on FS1 as well as so we got some Rampage overlap as well. And so Tony Khan's been talking shit, and people were trying to give him shit for it. It's just like, nah, I'm just like saying our show's better. Um, and we got that, and then we have a Saturday Night Dynamite. The reason why they're moving to TBS is reared its head again. Uh, I forget what it is, if it's hockey or what, but this week. But yeah,
it's got to be hockey this week. I don't think basketball's back yet.
yeah. Well, cool. Yeah. Oh yeah, TBS Championship. My quick pick is going to be Serena Deeb. I think she should get it just right
I
away.
I think they're just going to rush it onto Jade Cargill. Um, but yeah, I'm kind of with you. Every story they've given her has been lackluster.
Yeah.
Um, she doesn't need a manager.
Yeah.
Just
There's
look at her.
no
She
uh,
it's
no.
like if you gave Braun Strowman a manager. Just look at him. Like
Yeah.
it does more than a promo ever will.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
stand at the top of the thing and flex. Done.
even if you did give a manager to her, like, it's just a weird. There's no chemistry there. It's just so
Yeah.
weird. Like
It's a squirrely white guy. Does
yeah,
she needs Malcolm Bivens. We need
yeah.
her in the diamond mine. That's our
Oh
forbidden
man.
door. Yep.
Oh yeah, yeah. Diamond Mine Jade Cargill would be, yes, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Well, until next week, where we'll fantasy book some more. I'll see you later.